Mm, Okay, we're live. So thank you, Priscilla Sterling, for coming. We're the Freedmen News Network and part of the Freedmen Party's media arm, essentially, um, inspired by the Black Panthers and the Black Panther Party newspaper that they had. So we want to be the modern way of getting these stories that are so important out. And another happy belated birthday to Emmett Till. Um, and your family. Thanks again for
Thank you.
coming.
Thank
Yeah,
you for having us.
of course. Um, so, for the audience and maybe who doesn't know, what's your relationship to the Emmett Till family and to the
Cousin,
cousin?
cousin.
That's
Both.
awesome. That's awesome. And um, can you tell us any kind of updates in terms of your fight for justice? Like, I know about the warrant that you guys found that warrant, um, and trying to pursue that new justice in terms of presenting that evidence. Can you tell us about that?
Yes. For those that don't know the story of Emmett Till, and you'd be surprised, many people don't know the story about Emmett. But
Right,
Emmett was a 14-year-old cousin of ours that had come to visit here in Mississippi. And he had come to Uncle Moses' house in the Delta. Uncle Moses, a sharecropper,
right,
and he got here to Mississippi on a Saturday. The ordeal with the whistling situation happened on a Wednesday.
hmm,
Um, they were at the store and the whistling took place. And Saturday morning, early Saturday morning, in the early hours of a.m., uh, three, well, Carolyn Bryant, Roy Bryant, J.W. Milam, and some black guys had come to Uncle Moses' house and they took Emmett. Uh, from there, Uncle Moses later on in the day, he went and filed charges. I mean, he told them that it was Carolyn Bryant, Roy Bryant, and J.W. Milam, the people that had come and took Emmett that morning, and that was August. That was August 28th,
okay,
1955. On August the 29th, J.W. Milam and Roy Bryant were arrested. Carolyn Bryant, they had wrote on the back of the paper that she was nowhere to be found.
wow,
Okay, that happened.
yeah,
Okay, for her not to be found, September 17th, the trial starts. She's there with her husband. She's
exactly,
still not arrested.
right,
So we know that Carolyn Bryant was never intended to be arrested.
right,
Okay, so during that trial, J.W. Milam and Roy Bryant were acquitted. Okay,
hmm.
we have the trial for no.
Yeah,
Excuse me.
within an hour,
Yeah,
I
yeah,
was like, that's crazy. All
yeah.
white,
Within an hour, they had already knew that they were going to let them go. They
right,
just sat there, as you all heard in the story. They just sat there wasting time just to go back to deliberate of
yep,
them being free and not guilty.
yeah,
So that was for the murder trial.
hmm,
There was another trial held in November for kidnapping. The kidnapping trial, which was interfering, there was an interference by United States senators from Mississippi that went and got information from the Department of Defense,
wow,
Emmett Till's daddy, who's Louis Trial, and they made up these stories about he raped a white woman and two Italian women, and they brought this information back to the trial in
right,
1955, which the jurors sympathized with, that of saying Emmett's daddy is a rapist and a murderer. So this little boy, so they used that in the trial, and
right,
J.W. and Roy Bryan were acquitted. Now, if you think about it, if Carolyn Bryan was supposed to be picked up for kidnapping, she
hmm,
also was to be charged for murder as well.
right,
That is the reason why the family is so wholeheartedly about getting Carolyn Bryan, because she was initially supposed to have been in both trials. She is
right,
the only one still alive. Therefore, we're not going to stop until she's arrested. And Dwayne Richardson, who is the DA here,
hmm,
he has not. arrested her, but we've heard from some of the state senators that they are putting pressure on him to go on and serve that warrant,
Right.
as well as get him to convene a new grand jury so we can present other evidence that the family have in our possession.
Right. I think Daryl's here, by the way, too.
Hello.
How
Greetings.
Hello,
you
Daryl.
doing?
Good. How
How's
y'all
it
doing?
going? Good. Good morning to you, or good afternoon, maybe. Oh, it's 11 there, so still almost afternoon. Um, yeah. So we were just talking. Priscilla was kind of letting the audience know about the background behind this story. I also learned I was going back to different documentaries. One of them talked about um, Moses saw them walk Emmett to the car and ask. Is this the boy? And a female voice replied, yes, that's the boy. And they believed that was Carolyn Bryan there at
And
that point.
see, and see what is so significant about placing her there. Prior to getting him that morning, there were two other black boys picked up off the
Wow.
side of the one from a store and one off the side of the road. And the one from the store was brought out to the vehicle, and Carolyn said, that's not the nigga. The
Wow.
next one, they picked up another young man and put him in the vehicle, and she said, that's not him, the nigga either, and threw him out where he broke his teeth. So later
Wow.
on, they go to Uncle Moses' house. So
Hmm.
she is there. She is actually told by those two young men that she was there.
Right.
So
Right.
it's only
Okay.
the state of Mississippi that did not go through with arresting her. So
Well,
Exactly.
you
this is
have to
what
look
this
at it
is about.
right. And
Mhm.
so we interviewed a person by the name of Will Hill, who used
Okay.
to work for Roy Bryant at the time of Emmett's murder. Okay.
Right.
We had an interview on recorded. He said that they were looking for him. That's one of
Wow.
the things that he said. He's around Carolyn Holloway Bryant is her name. Her maiden name
Mhm.
is, am I right, Priscilla?
Yes,
Holloway Bryant.
Holloway.
Not don't use Carol Bryant Dunham.
Right.
Use Carol Holloway Bryant. Okay, because that's
Mhm.
her plantation name. That's her slave owner name. First of all, okay, in the
Mhm.
state of Mississippi. Now, Mr. Hill is a person that used to work for Roy Bryant. Described his new vehicle to us. He used to make deliveries
Mhm. Mhm.
for Roy Bryant. He used to drive the school bus for Roy Bryant.
Right.
Okay. We asked Dale Killinger, whatever his name, did he interview Mr. Hill? He
Right.
said he's 99% sure he interviewed him. But what he did say was he doesn't believe he asked the tough questions that Priscilla and I asked during our
Right.
interview.
Mhm.
Okay. It wasn't a
Mhm.
professional interview. It was like a conversation with Mr.
Right.
Hill,
Mhm.
someone who
Right.
I've talked to before doing my genealogy. And so Priscilla and I, we met. And so we put Mr. Hill on the line, and he explained that he knew all of your relatives, right? Mose Wright
Right.
and all of them. And he also told me about my family's history. And so this is a person who knows the history of money, Mississippi. Okay. He used to work at the
That's
store.
right.
And the other thing is, he's the person that lives closest to the Bryant's grocery store than anyone else. So he's like, what, a stone throw away from the grocery store. And he used to make deliveries. And so if you think about what Priscilla said and what's in the reports is that they were searching for the person that I guess flirted with Carolyn Holloway Bryant. And so
Hmm.
they picked up two other blacks, like Priscilla was saying, and then they kicked them out of the truck, saying that's not the nigga. So you know what
Right.
that implies? They didn't know where Emmett was.
Exactly.
They didn't know where he was. But the fact that Priscilla keeps saying that they had Carolyn in the car to identify, right?
Exactly.
So they were just riding around harassing because they could. They
Right.
were the
Yeah.
enforcers of the community. She
Mhm.
comes from a slave holding family.
Mhm.
and Brian and W. Milan, they felt like they were the police of the community. That's what they were doing. But the curious part is, if you knew, if you're a worker, Will Hill, why wouldn't you
Mhm.
just get him to show you where Mose Wright lived? And you know what?
Right.
Mm-hmm.
FBI needs to tell us, why didn't Will Hill show them where
Mhm.
Mose Wright with the other Priscilla? Did the other,
That's
who did
right.
they say were in the, who did they say were in the car with them? Remember the movies? They showed a
Yep.
black man standing outside. Who was
Mhm.
he?
Yep.
Mhm.
Now,
Yep.
now, Priscilla, tell them, who was the person that was in the truck, the blacks that was in the truck that showed, that was with
Right.
Roy Bryant and J.W. Miles. Who did they say they were? Too Tight or somebody? Who was it?
Yeah, Two Tight Collins, Reverend Two Tight Collins, along with two other black men. So they
Right.
all would come to the house along with Carolyn
But the
Bryant inside the
Yeah.
vehicle.
I
right, but
heard. I heard.
the point is, did they know where Mose Wright lived? Did they
No.
know
Most
Mose Wright?
the
So it
delivery.
had to. So what we're saying is, it had to have been Will Hill, who
Mhm.
worked for them as their delivery person, and who
Right.
also were friends with Simeon Wright, the house
Right.
that Emmett was at.
Right.
So he
Right.
is still alive. He's still staying on the property. But why didn't the FBI in this case? And he has never been investigated. Think
Yeah.
about it.
I saw one documentary that did mention this. It talked about they went to him, interviewed him, and asked him all the questions. He denied it and denied everything. But there's multiple people, including the son of Moses, who said that he saw him at the porch, right on the porch, right when
Yeah.
they came initially, and
Yeah.
people saw him with Emmett on the truck as well. And then even who was the 18-year-old who heard all the screams and stuff. He said that he saw black people with them. He didn't know how much involved they were, but he did see black people with them when they went into.
Willie.
Yeah.
Willie. Uh-huh. Mm-hmm.
And so most people don't know the whole backstory in terms of they were going to get candy at the store that the Bryants owned, right? It was like their
Mm-hmm.
candy, or
Mm-hmm.
it was their store, it had candy in it. They were trying to get bubble
Right.
gum, and it was only the Carolyn there. The man wasn't there. Her husband wasn't there. Um,
Right.
so you have that, and then they had this delivery dude that you guys mentioned who basically worked for the Bryants for that store essentially, and so this
Mm-hmm.
connection, how they knew the family, everything lines up.
Right.
Right. So you're saying the delivery guy. You said you
Right.
saw him in a documentary being
Yeah.
questioned, Mr. Hill.
Yeah, yeah, and he basically denied everything. Um,
Den-
and the fact that you said he still lives on the plantation, they interviewed him there. You know what I mean? And so yeah, he's still there. He denied everything.
Yeah.
But
Okay. We,
multiple people spotted him. You know what I mean? And had like
we,
eyewitness testimony.
we need to see that documentary that you saw
Yeah,
because we haven't seen it.
I could send that definitely.
That'd be
Okay.
great. And
Yeah.
the other thing, correction is Carolyn Bryant and Roy Bryant, they did not own the store. They leased it.
Oh, okay, they leased it. Okay.
They
Mm-hmm.
leased it to from the Carolyn Roy Bryant's J.W. Milan's mother, L.W. Bryant, was awarded a lease from her brother Hugh Lawson Gary, who owned the Wildwood who owned the Wildwood Plantation. That's
I
the
see.
key
Mm-hmm.
name. That's a historical place.
Right.
So
Mm-hmm.
your viewers, they can Google that right now. Wildwood Plantation and Commissary Shop. They
Wow.
will talk about sharecropping and how
Mm-hmm.
they trick people out of money. In
Right.
2013, they registered uh, through the National Park Service that designation as a historic place. And the
Right.
way
Mm-hmm.
they were awarded that is by talking about sharecropping. And
Right.
these same people mentioned that are family members. Well, this is what I tell you. The company Seven Generations of Cotton, or five, or what, seven generations? I'm sorry, there used to be seven generations of cotton. They own the Wildwood Plantation, and we believe strongly that they're related to the Bryant's family,
Right.
J.W. Miley and Roy Bryant. So that's just something that people in the world don't know
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
right there.
I was watching also that movie Judas and the Black Messiah, and they mention in the movie that the family of Fred Hampton, I guess his mother, Fred Hampton's mother, used to babysit every now and then Emmett.
Mm-hmm.
Uh, and I thought that was an interesting detail because I was like, oh wow, the connection because of Chicago and um, all of that. So small world.
Yes, it is a small
Yeah.
world. It is a small world, and just I think we covered some. And see, the thing about it, you said something about Carolyn Bryant being at the store
Right,
alone. Now
right.
you know that Roy Bryant has two brothers.
Okay,
Okay, well, four brothers, two half brothers and four full brothers. So
okay.
it
I
was
see.
6 of them. You know that, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I didn't know that they had the two brothers. I didn't know about the half brothers.
Yeah.
Right. J.W. Milam. What were their names? J.W. Milam and
Leslie. Leslie.
what's the other Milam? Leslie Milam and Bud
Yeah.
Milam.
And who
Okay,
was supposed
Those
to
are
be involved? They were also involved.
I see.
right. And so Mr. Hill told us that they would always be playing cards, gambling at the store,
Mm-hmm.
right, Priscilla?
Right.
J.W. Milam, Milam, and
Yeah.
Leslie Milam, and the two other Bryant brothers.
Right.
Okay, we don't know their whereabouts when Emmett came into that store. Okay, but
Yeah,
we
so they could
we
have been
but
there.
we huh?
They could have been there potentially.
They could have been there potentially, right?
Hmm.
And and what we do know that Leslie and
Mm-hmm.
JW, they had other stores. They had other business
Oh
interests
wow.
around the Wildwood plantation, around Money,
Right.
Ruleyville. What are some of the areas? And so that's the thing. If you start to, you always hear follow the money. Okay.
Yeah.
So where did they get the money to operate these plantation stores?
Hmm.
How did they draw up business documents to have insurance on
Right.
these plantation stores? And then you start to see a clearer picture of higher ups that are involved with the
Right.
court case, with the
Mm-hmm.
what is it, the Stennis and Eastland. They
Hmm.
become involved with Lewis
Mm-hmm.
Till. And so there are some brilliant folk out there, Khalil Chisholm and Elliot Gorn. They touch on in their documentaries the involvement of Stennis and Eastland and the Clarion Ledger and all, in 1955. And so
Right.
Mm-hmm.
when you look at that arrest warrant, the arrest warrant uh, seems like to me, but we'll refer that to counsel. Priscilla and I
Mm-hmm.
will refer that to Malik Shabazz, who's counsel,
Mm-hmm.
who you tell them about the press conference or the press event Tuesday at 12 noon,
Right.
where all the press will be invited to hear from Brother Malik lay out his case. And so it's a strong case for
Definitely.
Carolyn Bryant's arrest, irrespective of what Mr. Richardson wanted to do.
Hmm.
She's
Right.
got a lot of information. And we believe she's put on the pedestal because of her slavery ties, because of
Hmm.
owning slaves. What is it, Calloway? What's the name, Priscilla, of
The
her family?
Holloway, the plantation
Holloway.
that they
Holloway
own, a slave
plantation is
plantation. Mm-hmm.
right. So the
And
So
arrogance and the whites.
any whites that had ownership to plantations looked out for each other, and they
yeah.
had money.
Right,
So it was
right.
naturally not to arrest her back in that
Right.
day because of the strong political tie
Right.
to
And
what happened.
there's an important detail I think some people don't know about sharecropping. So that connection between the plantation and the plantation store was the economic relationship that kept our ancestors financially oppressed, right? Where they could not even get out of the sharecropping situation. right? And so the fact that they had this plantation store that was selling the tools and all these other dry goods and other things that were keeping the debts up on the other side so they could never make a profit, right? And so that connection,
Mm-hmm.
that is an economic business relationship, and they're, you know, they obviously want the prices in the store to match the cost of the share of the crop, right? So
Mm-hmm.
that
Oh yeah,
connection, and then
yeah,
everyone's tied into it economically, and they're incentivized to keep that going, that oppression going. So I
yes.
think that's a deep, deep connection. And people don't know that sharecropping was still going on in 1955. How they came down and they would spend some of the day on the cotton field, as these kids would actually, some of them as well. Um,
Yeah.
What you
One
have
of the
to
other things, yeah. What were you gonna say?
what you have to understand about the town of Money, it was the port of cotton for Greenwood. My gosh, you're talking about 5,000 acres of the
Right.
most pristine cotton land in the country, right there in
Mm-hmm.
Money, Greenwood, Mississippi. So when you talk
Mm-hmm.
about cotton like that, you're talking about big money, big
Mm-hmm.
money. And so people like Roy Bryan and J.W. Milam and their mother, they were uh, uh, people that hung around plantations. Okay,
Right.
these are the people that stole plantations. Okay, their family.
Mm-hmm.
That's what they did. They didn't inherit anything. They they couldn't work the land or anything like that. They were just entities to
Right.
keep that
Mm-hmm.
cotton money flowing. And
Mm-hmm.
so there's a whole nother history to Roy Bryant, Carolyn Bryant, Holloway, whatever. And it's a
Mm-hmm.
whole nother story that no one knows about. You know, their financial ties and their business dealings. They,
Mm-hmm.
I'm gonna give you a name, Hardy Lot.
Okay.
Hardy Lot represented Mega Evers.
Oh
Okay,
wow.
he yeah he didn't represent Mega Evers. He represented D. Beckwith, the murderer of
I'm
Mega
making
Evers.
heaven.
And
Oh dang.
right, right. So
That's awesome.
that's the name. And and he drew up the lease for Brian's grocery store, Hardy Lot. And so we
Mm.
believe that Hardy Lot is related as an in-law to Roy Bryant and J.W. Milan. He's an in-law
Wow.
to them. And his nephew became Senate President, Trent Lott.
Mm-hmm.
That's
Mm-hmm.
Trent Lott.
crazy.
So
Mm-hmm.
so yeah, so there are connections. And Charles Merrill died in 1955. Okay,
Okay.
the founder of Merrill Lynch. He is associated with that property that
Wow.
Emmett was murdered on. And so
Mm-hmm.
they never filed a civil suit against the estate. See, that's what's going to uncover a lot. The
Right.
civil suit against Carolyn Bryant Holloway's estate.
Yep.
Mm-hmm.
She is in line to benefit financially. That's why she's shutting up. That's why
Yeah.
they don't want to unpack all of this stuff because it'll bring in
Mm-hmm.
Lewis Till. It'll bring us
Right.
Lewis Till's murder
Mm-hmm.
also over in World War II.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
Lynching. It'll bring his in. Everybody just assumed that Lewis, since they say Emmett whistled or whatever, that Lewis
Mm-hmm.
Till was guilty of what they allege
Mm-hmm.
he did.
Right.
Right.
Exactly.
Everybody
Exactly.
just
Right.
assumed it, baby. You cannot
Right.
assume stuff with these people. You have to
Right.
look at them. You have to investigate them.
Yep.
Mm-hmm.
You have to investigate them.
Mm-hmm.
And so,
One of
Mm-hmm.
the, no, keep going. Keep going.
yeah, so they put Lewis Till in a bad light, but
Mm-hmm.
you don't
Mm-hmm.
put Carolyn Holloway Bryan in a bad light. And what did her family do to those slaves? And what did her family do to the plantation stores or the sharecroppers at her plantation? You know what I mean?
Right.
So
Right.
Mm-hmm.
all of that is to be investigated. And Priscilla talks about Lynn Fitch.
Mm-hmm.
ties in, the attorney general. She could not
Mm-hmm.
shut her lips about Emmett. Just couldn't do it. Just couldn't let Dwayne Richardson muddle around. She had to say something, didn't she, Priscilla? She's a racist Klansman. We found out about her past. And
Oh yeah,
so she
And
don't be
she's
put
the
on
attorney
blast.
general. Think about it.
that's
She the
She's the
attorney
attorney general.
general.
yeah. So it's all of these people are conspiring together,
Right.
to keep this case
So
suppressed. Yeah,
that's right. They don't want this case open
right,
purposefully.
right,
So that's the reason why we need to go to President Biden's, get the
mhm,
Justice Department to
right.
override anything that comes out of the state of Mississippi
Exactly,
concerning this case.
exactly. I learned that the
Especially from Lynn
DOJ,
Fitz's mouth.
right. I learned that the DOJ initially was created to investigate crimes like this, lynchings, and to basically stop this white supremacist violence that was happening to us. So
Hmm.
they are responsible for this. And I'm actually kind of curious. Did you guys see that Emmett Till bill that was, in my opinion, a form of disrespect? I don't know if you guys got to see it though. Biden signed it into law, but it had no teeth at all. But they named it after Emmett Till. Um,
The anti-lynching bill.
yes, exactly. It was the one. It was two paragraphs long, and it made lynching or the conspiracy to lynch a 30-year max sentencing or a fine or both. And I
Yes,
thought that was so disrespectful because it's
yes.
7 years, right? So 30 years, 30 years, that's 60 years. She could have committed two lynchings 30 years apart and be out 7 years walking
Right.
around.
Yeah.
Right. So that kind of like that puts Carolyn what's her name? Holloway Bryant in the clear from the federal lynching,
Exactly.
huh? Oh wow.
That's
How
right.
convenient, huh?
How convenient, right? And I just thought, I was like, this is so disrespectful. And it was the shortest bill I've ever read in my life. It was two paragraphs long. I was like, this is just so unconscionable. And all this media celebrated it. It passed unanimously in the House, and I think like one person in the Senate didn't vote for it. But it was like they all tried to celebrate it like as if it was some huge accomplishment. And the media kind of went along with it like they didn't even read the bill. You know what I mean?
And they
Of
didn't.
course they didn't read it. They didn't read
They
it.
didn't read
And,
it.
you know that you talk about what Mitch McConnell, his slavery ties, and that's why we're saying that these people with these lawmakers with these
Hmm.
slavery ties, they feel like they have a badge. It's a badge of honor,
Right.
and that wealth that came from that. And so, until we stop that arrogant thought process, with people like Lynn
Hmm.
Fitch, you know, they're going to continue to act arrogantly. So that's
Hmm.
why that's why, look at the Wildwood Plantation. It's arrogance. They had no really need to apply for historical designation for sharecropping ways of life.
Right.
And so I
Hmm.
don't know what they were trying to get, tax breaks from being a historical place. And Lynn Fitch, you know, that's total arrogance, Priscilla, against your family and all blacks, really, for Nathan Bedford.
Right.
They shipped his cabin where he was born at, and they shipped it to what is that place, Priscilla, that Lynn Fitch owns? Her and her daddy owns. Yeah, the
Galena
Lynch.
Plantations. It's called
Right.
Fitch Farms, Galena Plantation, and it oversees where they remodel Nathan Bedford Forest, the Grand Wizard of the Ku Klux Klan, where
Right.
you can stay there, and corporate business people visit this place.
That's crazy. All those
Yes.
people
Right.
are
And
protected too.
And so I want to know who
right.
these corporate businessmen are that come here and they have
Right.
special gatherings on this resort. It's a 8,000 acre farmland.
Wow.
Right. Right. And you know something, Nathan Bedford, we are close, and we do believe that Nathan Bedford was related to John James O. Eastland. How
Who's
about
that?
that?
Who's that?
Senator James O. Easton and
Oh,
Bedford.
wow, a senator. Wow.
Senator, yeah, related,
Wow.
related. So
Yeah, so
that's why, right,
all this is white supremacy ties. All
Mhm.
this is
right.
KKK ties.
Mm-hmm.
And
The
that's why
KKK,
they
White
are
Citizens
trying to do
Council, right?
whatever. Yes.
Yes. Law
It's
enforcement, the judge, even the issuing
right,
of the warrant, the fact that that was never
Yes.
done. You know what I mean?
Yes.
right,
Yes.
How
right.
now?
And
How did the
so,
warrant become found? How was that discovered?
Uh, uh, my family from Minnesota, Deborah Watts with the Legacy Foundation, the Emmett Legacy Foundation, and Keith Beauchamp,
Okay.
who's doing the Tia movie that's coming out. We were supposed to go down.
All right.
They called me that morning, June the 21st. And I couldn't go because I'm a teacher here and we have summer school. And they were expecting to stay here 3 days. It only took an hour and a half to find that warrant in the basement at the Greenwood County Courthouse.
That means no one even ever put any effort into it in the first place.
Never put any effort. 67 years. They never intended to serve a warrant to her, to arrest her, for her to be held accountable for any part of Emmett's murder.
Right.
right.
That is so sad, but that's also a blessing, right? Now that's extra evidence that can be brought to bear. In
But see,
addition,
that's why we want the DA, Dwayne Richardson, to convene a grand jury, which
right.
this is rightfully so can be done. And we have the
And
evidence, additional evidence
Hmm.
that should go before
and,
the
and,
jury.
and just
And
think
the
about Mamie Till. Think about
right.
her and Mega Evers. Just think about
Hmm.
the pursuit of justice that this woman wanted to have for her son. When
Hmm.
she, I think, right after that acquittal of the kidnapping that Senator Eastland orchestrated, that she was going to file, we have the newspaper account, a civil suit,
A civil
right,
suit.
Priscilla?
Right.
That was the
Yes.
next order to get justice. That was the right move. And you fast forward to what, 2022? Still no civil suit has been filed. Can you believe that? None.
It's unbelievable.
And think about what she was trying to do in 1955.
Right.
She was up against Eastland, Stennis, and J. Edgar Hoover. This is what that woman was up against.
Right.
And look at what happened to Edgar, Mega Evers,
Hmm.
by Beckwith.
Hmm.
Okay, and Hardy Lott got him off. Think about it. Hardy Lott got him off, and uh, um, so Hardy Lott got him off, and what did Mamie Till do? She kept her mouth closed.
Hmm.
So, hey, she had to be in the right mind to do that. If you're looking at what J. Edgar Hoover was doing,
Yeah. COINTELPRO.
huh? Look, Mega Evers,
COINTELPRO.
who happened? Dr. King, and then and
Hmm.
then John F. Kennedy.
Yep.
Malcolm
JFK,
X.
RFK.
So
It was a whole period of terror.
right, but the lady was trying to file a civil suit in 1955 in Greenwood, Mississippi, against these people.
Right.
So yeah, but I'm gonna have to drop off,
No worries.
guys. It was nice talking to you. I'd
Okay.
love to talk to you
Thank you for
further.
coming, Daryl. It was a pleasure having you, and you're a fountain of wisdom. I'm gonna get you that documentary so you have even more information. And anything that we can do from the Freedmen News Network side to get this story out, and anything we can do
Yes.
from the party, with getting the word out, getting justice, will help with as well.
Thank you.
Right. The things that we talked about, we really have to educate, all the citizens, because it's a breach of the public trust,
Other
and
public trust.
Dwayne Richardson is participating in the breach of the public trust, and it doesn't
Definitely.
do society any good to continue this breach.
Right.
And Lynn Fitch, just shut up. Just shut up. Period. That,
Mhm.
don't even. She shouldn't even be considered a part of the government.
Right.
She
Right.
just shut up
Yeah,
because
she
she
needs to
does
be
no one
investigated.
in this country
Yeah.
any good. All right, guys. Thanks. Talk
Definitely.
to you.
Thank you,
Thank
Daryl.
you.
Thank you
Thank
again
you,
for coming.
Daryl.
Appreciate your time. Okay, so this would be a good time to segue into some audience questions. We have the audience here with us. If they have any question, I know Jaron, the freed one from the party, he had some questions he wanted to ask, so we'll see if he's ready. Uh, freed one, you there? What's your question? What about you, Inspired?
Oh, hey, greetings, hello, family.
How you doing?
Greeting.
To the Emmett family present. I probably missed it, but the 2007 grand jury failed to indict. What was the main reason? Did they cover that? I'm sorry.
I
What was
can't hear.
what was the main reason they failed to indict the grand jury? I believe you said in 2008. It sounded like.
In 2008?
Is that the year?
It was 2007.
Oh, seven.
When I was researching the case, there was a looks like majority black grand jury, and they failed to indict. I know that according to what I researched, he was on the stand. There were two different stories. I'm just trying to figure out why there was not an indictment. What was the reason? Because I'm assuming that's the reason why they're failing to issue the warrant and charge at this time.
Yes, they failed to do so as they're trying to do in this case now. The pressure that we're putting on Dwayne Richardson, and he still hadn't issued the arrest warrant. It's the same reason why the information that was presented to George Childs, they chose not to act on it. It's almost like fear for doing your job and not
Right.
going all the way using. I mean, and I'm not saying that you have to sympathize as a black person hearing from me being harassed, stalked, and threatened being a family member. 2022, even the black lawyers and the judges still have to be careful for how they do their job. To
Right.
me, there should have been a prosecution in 2007. You're right.
Right.
The evidence was there then, and they chose not to act on it. And although these people were black, they were oversaw this case just as Dwayne Richardson is.
Right.
And to me, it's all about fear. But you are elected by the people for these positions. That's the reason why if you don't do your job, you get kicked out. And that's what we're planning. If he does not issue this arrest warrant, we will not vote him back in. We will make sure the people don't vote him back in, because you have a duty to uphold to the people that put you there.
Exactly. That's actually a great thing because you need that leverage. If they're not going to do and act in your interests, then they don't need to be representing you.
They don't
You know.
need to be there. And fear in this part of the job. I know he probably didn't expect, but we just had a meeting with him with the Department of Justice March 8th
Right.
on the same thing, reopening the case. And he
Exactly.
stood his ground then. Now we're back here where the arrest warrant has been found. So now you need to act on your job. You need to arrest her and convene a new grand jury. What
Right.
should have happened in 2007?
Exactly. Do you have another question, Inspired? Let's see. Freed one, you got a question? If not, I'll ask a few more from the list. Um, Feel free, anyone in the audience, come up if you want to ask your question. A few other questions I had. Daryl kind of mentioned about the ring. I was going through one of the documentaries, and they said that Mammy had given his father's ring to Emmett, and that's how they actually were able to identify him when they found him, because he still had his father's ring on with the initials. So I thought that was like a touching story in terms of that connection and everything. This obviously is a horrible situation, But what do you think about the whole Jet magazine, and how did media play a role in amplifying the story then, and how can what can the new black media do to amplify it today? Doing things like this, for example.
Exposure,
Right.
telling the truth. Don't be afraid to write the story. Do
Right.
not be afraid to use the facts. And it's all about scholarly journalism.
Definitely.
Get the facts and put them out there. Do not be afraid to share. Do not. And see, that's what I see the problem in our communities are. For one, the major media like MSNBC, CBS, they choose not to focus and get this information and put it out here before the masses. And that's done purposefully. That's done purposefully. So we have to resort to our black media. But how many is it really getting over across the world like it does with the major media sources? No, it's not. So we have to use the information that we hear, that we see, that's facts. We have to put it out here. Do not be afraid to share this information. Call out. Just like I was telling them yesterday, you have a hate map. If you look at this hate map and you see the different places and locales that these hate organizations are, then you can determine where the incidents that are happening within communities, the missing.
Exactly.
And it's important to utilize that hate map, because then we know who our local leaders are, and we need to call those jokers out.
Exactly.
You call out the Klan. You call out white supremacy, and then you will stop all this chaos that's happening in our communities. Believe me, call them out.
Definitely. Yeah, they need to be called out because they're comfortable.
And that's what's not happening. It's not happening. That's what needs to happen.
Yep. And like you said earlier, vote them out if they have political power.
Vote them out. If they are not doing just to your communities with basic necessities of this our lives, we don't need them. We do not need them.
Definitely. I was as part of the Freedmen Party, we were building up our agenda in terms of what's important to us, and one of them is genocide prevention and anti-genocide. And we learned about the United Nations and the U.S. laws around genocide, and two of them apply to the Emmett Till case. One of them is killing members of the group, so the killing of Emmett Till, the lynching of Emmett Till, and then secondly, transferring kids from one group to another group, so essentially the kidnapping of Emmett Till, right? And when I looked at the crime for the United States under the penal code, like what's the punishment for genocide for those acts? If you kill someone, you get either the death penalty or life imprisonment and $1 million fine at both, right? And then even if you attempt or conspire to do a genocidal act like killing or kidnapping like that, you get the same punishment as if you had accomplished it. So Carolyn Bryan would even fit, even if they say she didn't pull the trigger or didn't hit Emmett or didn't do anything, she would still be a part of the conspiracy.
That's right. That's right.
Which has the same punishment as if you had done it yourself.
That's right. That's right.
And there's no statute of limitations on murder, and no statute of limitation on genocide either.
That's right.
Very important.
And see to me, as a family member of Emmett Till, as being in this for so long and dealing with my own racial issue that brought me really into these lynchings of Black men and women. Mississippi led the nation in lynchings in America. Okay. Wow. We still have lynchings here in Mississippi and cases of missing Black men here that is not exposed or talked about. Right. See, it's not just about Emmett, but my thing is, you have the perpetrators that of these young men that have been lynched still alive. Exactly. But no one is going after that. Exactly. That's why the Emmett Till Justice for Families Foundation Mississippi was created, because
Okay.
I want to be able to help families with legal fees,
Right.
get forensic pathologists. Don't go
Right.
on when these police officers go to these scenes and say, "Oh, it was suicide," and
Right.
then no one goes up and challenge it. And we just left, "Oh, my brother, oh, my uncle, oh, they killed themselves." And they don't have the monies to go up against it. That's what I'm sick of.
Right.
Emmett has been dead now 67 years.
Mm-hmm.
You have the young men and women that have been lynched, whose perpetrators are still alive. Them jokers need to be investigated, and I don't care who's behind it, needs to go to jail while they are alive. Don't wait for a Roy Bryant or JW to die, like you have Carolyn Bryant, who can still go to jail and be charged for Emmett's crime. Get these perpetrators that have murdered and lynched our men and women today that are still alive, and I don't care what position in life they sit in. Let's go get them.
Get them.
Call these jokers out. Stop letting them get away with this crime, because as long as they get away with this crime, other black men and women are being lynched right now. So any couple of them we can stop from being lynched. Call these jokers out now and stop another child or one of our men and women from being hung or lynched or murdered at the hands of these racists.
Exactly. We got to deal with not only the hate crimes from these like white supremacists, but we also have to deal with it from law enforcement as well. So it's a two-sided attack. And I think
if you're paying attention and really looking, you got the KKK that has infiltrated law enforcement. It's just not coincidental that white men, after right when Donald Trump got in, started killing black men when they see them like they have something, they fear for their lives. But then you hear this white guy that shot these people in this parking lot at a grocery store. You can hear a conversation saying, "We don't kill white men." When we approach them, white men don't kill white men. They approach them and apprehend them and take them in. But yet a black man that shoot them down, all that's done purposefully.
Yep.
So this is what you need. This is what we need to be calling out. Go get these hierarchies that's in our government roles that are part of a grand wizard KKK group, racist, and stop this mess from happening locally. We can stop it. We call it out. Stop being afraid. Call it out.
Yep.
Call them out. Find out who they are. Find out your doctors, your lawyers, your teachers, your pharmacists, your bank loaners, and find these jokers out and call them out. Say, "Oh, we're not patronize. I mean, we're not going to patronize your business."
Exactly.
We're not going to do it.
They just arrested.
We're not patronizing their business.
No, don't support them at all. Boycott. They just arrested a 102-year-old Nazi. So if they can do that, we can arrest someone who's basically a white supremacist who participated in the lynching.
That's right.
Or any modern lynchings that are happening.
That's right. We don't have to patronize them anymore. We can stop to call them out to let people know who they are. That how you got a list of people that participate in these racist organizations. I got the one from here in Mississippi. I got the hate map, the racist organization in their name, and they got the membership. If they're your doctor, why would you want him cutting on you? We don't know these people's intentions, and you have behind hate when you meet and greet us, but you smile in our face, but secretly you all are hate. You all are organizing to destroy us. This is happening in America today.
Today, exactly.
Today. And it needs to be called out.
Yes, it has to be. And that's why we made genocide prevention on our agenda, because all of these different things, whether it be by the law enforcement or whether it be by people that are white supremacists in these different organizations, these are still all acts of genocide. And then we got whether it happens in the hospital, right? Not helping you, getting the healthcare you need, food apartheid, apartheid in finance, like you said, in banking.
Yes.
People, right?
Yes. You have these people in these positions to stop you purposefully. Yes. And to call them out, to expose this. Now is the time. Anytime you have hundreds of thousands of Americans that are in positions, like in the insurrectionists that went to Washington to overthrow our democracy and to hang a president, and they were teachers, they were doctors, they were your fitness coordinators, they were your bankers, they were FBI agents, they were law enforcement. Think about how deep that is for them to be right here in your home state, and then you wonder why this joker over here is stopping you. The whole time he done went to Washington to overthrow democracy.
Exactly. They did a statistics on everybody that was there. Like 90% were like white males, 80%
professional. Professional.
80% were employed, right? So they had jobs. Most of them had businesses they owned. Someone came on there on a private jet, right? So,
but think about how deep that is. How deep is that? Right. They're the very people that we go to, that we have to go to get business deals, to approve, to say that we're sick and this is what's going on with us. But the whole time, you hate me. This is a problem in America.
Huge problem.
And education will fix it along with action. But you gotta expose it. The way to fix it and start it is to expose it.
Yeah, you got to.
These conversations got to be had. The conversation, they're very hard conversations, but they got to be had.
Have to be. Inspired, you have your hand up. You want to ask another question?
Yes, I did have a question and a thought. The Emmett Till charge or case, I think it would, if they took an actual indictment, it would cause a precedence of being able to charge, because I'm thinking like all the photos of the lynching photos that they have and identifying, I don't know why we haven't started identifying those people in the photos or trying to do that, because like I was thinking as she was speaking, is that the rabbit, like you said, the rabbit hole goes deep. Who are those people in the pictures? Just like they're connected in the Emmett Till case, and they're connected to land, they're connected to businesses, they're connected to banks, they're connected to CEOs. I'm thinking the pictures with the lynching, and I'm thinking this is really probably why they're trying so hard to prevent an indictment in this case, because it would set a precedent for those other cases. In reference to, we would be able to go back and investigate and charge from those actual lynching photos, because we can probably find out. So I think maybe our approach to this should be more broad in reference to, okay, if we can show that there are people that are connected in these lynchings, and like I don't know why the civil suit hasn't been started. I think y'all spoke about it, but that really should be maybe the group. But anyway, I was just thinking aloud in reference to this case would set precedence of us of moving forward with the other lynching that we have documented, being able to go back and find out who participated in those lynchings.
Yes, I agree. Inspire. Yes, ma'am. Yes, that's the reason why it's so important to expose this, to put pressure, keep it out here. We're planning a national event here in Mississippi and around the world for justice for families that have gone through this, especially here in the state of Mississippi, and this around our family here, the Emmett Till case. You're right. It would set precedents, because something happened that should not have happened the way this case was handled, and the politics of this case. That's the reason why God has not allowed this case to just simmer and not you don't hear about it. There's a reason behind it.
Oh, definitely. I think they need to be charged with RICO, because they're connected in this very much way that they charge Black people with RICO all the time for the most frivolous things, and we can show clear connections in this of RICO. So they need to bring them up on all the federal charges, the hate crime charges as well, and the act of genocide. So the multiple acts of genocide, the kidnapping as well as the killing.
That's right.
So definitely inspired. Do you want to answer that? Or,
And just so I can say this, James O. Eastland, the United States Senator from Mississippi, who got involved in the case, his family participated in lynchings.
Wow.
He was a staunch segregationist, and he never hid how he felt about blacks. So for him to sit in that position, to go interject himself, obstruct justice, in this case, come down here to little old Mississippi, the connections. Right. Lynn Finch coming out and speaking, the connection. So we don't need them, not racists who had ties to this. No. Right. We need to open this up and expose it for what it is. This is a white supremacist government that's ran here to purposefully stop justice.
Yes. Yeah, we're experiencing genocide in real times, and what was genocide, and he needs his justice still. Inspired, what's your follow-up question?
No, exactly. What was the name of the senator? I'm sorry, I missed that. I wanted to write it down.
The name of the senator?
Yes,
James O. Eastland and John Stennis. They were two United States senators from Mississippi.
Oops. Okay.
And then the only other thing I have, the memoir is written by Timothy Tyson, and I know he had promised Carolyn Bryant, daughter-in-law, that he was not going to release his book until she passed away. And I think you're right. I think that God and the ancestors are holding her alive in this case, I swear. Because she had said they didn't expect her to live as long as they did, because she was sick, I guess, when she was afraid he was going to release the book. But how much has Timothy Tyson assisted at all with the case, or has he hindered the case? How do you feel about the memoirs that he wrote in reference to Carolyn Bryant?
Okay, I don't know if you heard lately, they tried to release bits and pieces of their memoir after the warrant was found June 21st, to say that she didn't want anything to happen to him and she was trying to protect him from being murdered. Why would that come out now? Exactly. And we don't want to hear that as a family. That's just a lie. All the other narrative that they're trying to put out here and spin. And this memoir was not supposed to come out to 2036. Now, if this memoir was not supposed to come out to 2036, that was for her family to profit off of her memoirs. We would not stand for any part of Carolyn Holloway Bryant's family to receive a dime off this case, off the murder of Emmett Till. If anything is to be made off of that family, and anybody related to her needs to come to the Emmett Till family and other organizations of family that have went and gone through the same thing we've gone through. This is what this is. Paying for legal fees for other members that have gone through the injustice of lynchings in the hands of racism.
100%.
This is my last point. If I read it properly, the release was coming from the daughter-in-law trying to refute what was in the memoir. He said she admitted to lying or had recanted during his interview, and the daughter-in-law, which I didn't write her name down, is saying that is untrue. She didn't say that. He doesn't have it on the recordings. But my understanding is the Timothy Tyson memoir says that she recanted, that she actually lied. So I'm gonna look more into that so I can bring that to the party. But yeah, but thank you so much for the interview. I'm gonna go ahead and drop down. Thanks.
Thank you, Inspired.
Thank you.
Also, in terms of Carolyn Bryant, she basically has never been tried, so there is no double jeopardy that she can invoke. So for her to tell her story afterwards in that magazine, like after after the initial trial and then do the memoir. She told on herself, even though the more recent one she's lying. All she's doing is giving more evidence. And
Yeah, because she's forgetting what she said then versus what she putting out now. So it's gonna be just used against her.
mm-hmm. Both of these things can be true, right? So you
Right.
definitely lied at least once, and we know the lie about you being involved is definitely you're definitely involved. So
And remember the arrest warrant is for kidnapping.
right,
So the arrest warrant that was found is for kidnapping that Carolyn Brand name is on.
right.
So she has to be arrested.
Right, exactly. Not only for that, I also think she should be involved in the murder in terms of that being put
That's
on.
right. That's right. That's right.
You can't
Yes,
just rule
sir.
that out, just because she's a woman or just because she's older or something like that. No, she needs to be tried at the whole book needs to be thrown at her in terms of the law.
But you missed something wholeheartedly because she is a white older woman.
Yes.
That's why.
Yep.
Baby, if she had been a black woman, Mexican woman, any other nationality, she'd been in jail, tried, and still in prison.
Exactly. We have people in that are black and that are freedmen that have been in prison for things that are non-violent longer than she ever been in prison or jail. So
Yes, sir. Yes,
just
sir.
I know we're reaching an hour, so I want to give you a chance to share any last thoughts if you want to. Also, we have one more question. Let's see. Kavasia, do you want to ask your question? Hey, Kavasia.
No, go ahead, get that out. I wanted to speak to the room real quick. Peace to the room. Bye, everybody.
Okay.
Thank you.
Yeah, Priscilla Sterling, any last thoughts? Anything you want to share in terms of getting the word out and how we can help?
We will be having a rally tomorrow in Greenwood, Mississippi, on the arrest warrant to be served to Carolyn Holloway Bryant. So it'll be 12 o'clock. I'll send you a link for you to be able to Zoom it tomorrow. But we are planning a national rally in Greenwood, Mississippi at the courthouse where the arrest warrant was found.
Great. Yeah, we would love to help with that if we can live stream it and blast it out.
Yes. Yes.
Thank you so much. And
You're welcome.
we can help in our ways in terms of the Freedmen News Network getting the message out. And then the party, we can help with things like doing robocalls. Like we know how to get a bunch of numbers, and then we can call them as frequently as we need to get the attention of the DOJ, Congress.
Yes, the DOJ, Dwayne Richardson.
Yeah, exactly.
And the Attorney General's office. Yes, thank you.
Yeah, of course. We get the numbers together, and literally all we have to do is call them on whatever frequency we want. Make sure their phones melt. They're going to get the message.
Yes. I appreciate it. We appreciate it.
Of course.
We thank you all so much allowing this to be told.
Yes, and thank you for spending this time with us. Happy birthday again to Emmett Till. It was Monday, and so we got to honor him and his legacy. And we're gonna get justice. So justice is coming, and we're gonna do everything.
Justice is coming. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Priscilla. You have a great day.
You too, dear.